Welcome to this talk about REST and HTTP. My name is Henrik Nielsen, and this presentation will be about showing you some of the technologies and ways of thinking about REST and HTTP and how to get started. So the way to think about this alignment is that you have the technology that's underneath for WCF. You have the channel model, you have the service model, and then on top of that you have a variety of programming models that give you ways for dealing with building REST technology and consuming REST and exposing REST services and resources. We have web HTTP services, we have data services, and we have RIA services. And now what we're going to do is that we will demo all those three segments and technologies individually, and then we will show a little bit about what we mean by this unification and show what we can do in a more mix and match setting. So what we have now is a regular project where we want to start a new WCF REST service. Very basic stuff here. So we basically go in and say, let's create a new project. And as part of that project, we will use a new template that we're making available. And these templates will in fact be made available online, so you can download them dynamically. It is not that there, but I will let you know at the end when you can figure out when it is there and how you can use it. So in this particular case, it's just this new REST service. We click on it, and we have a new service which has a set of properties that are already going down the right path. One is, if you've written resource-oriented services before with WCF, you always have to deal with this .svc in the URI, which is kind of annoying because this is not really something that you want to deal with. So in this version, we fixed that. It's gone. And the reason why it's gone is that we're now using the ASP.NET route mechanism, where you register resources using the route table rather than using an HTTP handler. And so now we can in fact use the URIs exactly incorporating it into the ASP model without having to come up with the SVC for ASP to find us. The second thing you will see is that as part of the config, we have a very small config where here you can see we have the ASP.NET routing module. And now the only thing is that we actually say we have what we call a standard endpoint. And as part of that, we say by default you get help enabled, which means that there's automatically a help page generated for the resource that you have. And I'll show you that. And the second thing is that you have automatic format selection enabled, which allows you to do simple content negotiation between XML and JSON. And I'll show you how this works also. So just by using this template by itself, you actually get value in getting started. So let's just run this without doing anything else and see how it comes up. There you go. So we just say we call this service 1. Go in here, and that's what you see. And if you go back and see, in fact, what is happening in here in the service 1, that one, is that we just hit in the get collection, which gives a collection that has ID 1 string value hello.
Let's get started. My name is Shoshana Bujanowski. I'm here from the Business and Platform Division, and with me I have my colleague James Baker, who's going to be a demoer for us today. And we're here to talk about SQL Server Modeling Services, formerly known as codename Oslo Repository. So if you're confused, is this Oslo? Was this Oslo? Yes, this is still Oslo. We're going to show you some really good, interesting things today that we're doing in SQL Server Modeling Services. So actually, imagine a world where we actually coordinated this data through models, through a shared database, and made that information available to you. What kind of things could you do that with that data? What additional insights could you have into your software projects that you can't get currently? Well, I'll share with you something. Brad Levering is a technical fellow at Microsoft. He's also our director of development. And he spends a lot of time looking at our code base. And we've got, over 100 developers working on in the DMG group and BPD. So it's a pretty good group of developers. And you know what? We're doing a lot of software development. It gets complex. And so, one thing that he's responsible for is ensuring that we have a well-structured source depot system or software management system. And so what he does is he goes into the source depot system that we use, and he's trying to figure out, like, where are things getting built, where are projects, where are components getting pulled into the system. Now, you could say he could navigate through TFS source build system or our build system, and he could kind of like point and click and look at things like that, but it's not super efficient. So one of the things that he did is he imported all of the metadata, all the file, solution file, project information into the modeling services database. And you know what? All of a sudden, all those barriers of access and barriers of information go away. If he wants to figure out how many solution files we have on our project, it's a single query. If he wants to figure out how many projects we have, if he wants to figure out which projects are building which assemblies, it's really darn easy for him. And you know what? The thing is, it's actually pretty scary for us, because when we get mail from him that tells us to go restructure our project. So, information can be a little bit dangerous sometimes. And so that's why we're doing this, so we can get more intelligence into our software development process than we've ever been able to do before.
And so what we've got here, we can see, again, we've just got a normal table. We've got a query here against the assemblies table. You'd expect to see a list of assemblies. So if I go ahead and run that there, you can see, yep, sure enough, we've got a set of assemblies, a whole bunch of attributes against those assemblies. But what we're seeing here is not just the assemblies for this stock trader application that we've already loaded in here, but we've potentially got a list of assemblies for the entire enterprise. And so this is a sort of a new concept that goes beyond the project scale, beyond the solution scale, and scales right out to the enterprise. And not only at the enterprise level, we've got multiple versions of these things, and so we can start doing analysis of change over time. And so we've got a little tool here. Let's put the disclaimer in that this is sort of prototypical UI. We're sort of building this in for the demo. Certainly the tools that this is invoking and the data that's querying over is part of the CTP. But imagine that we're going to provide access into Visual Studio, into the tools in a future version. And so what we're seeing here is we select the link to the modelling services database. We've got here a list of those folders, and as Shoshana said before, they can be organised hierarchically. So we've got sets of components. We've got different builds for the components. And what we're seeing over here in the list is a set of types that have been loaded for each build. And so if we go and filter down on the iTrade Services component, I can select that. What this tool is going to do now when I click the OK button, it's going to go off and query against the modelling services database and show me all of the components and all of the types that are calling or are impacted by the iTrade Services interface. And it'll do this across the entire scale of your organisation. So if we hit OK there, we go off to the database, and you can see here in the results presented back in the Architecture Explorer tool, which is part of Visual Studio 2010, we can see the results here. And if we look down here, we've got the interface here within my business service contract DLL. This is my component. But I can see immediately now that we've got links along these arrows, hopefully we can see them there, of client classes that are calling that interface.